unclear of and what it could cost. So let me tell you, anything below, honestly, like 10 grand,
Yeah.
you're gonna be hard pressed to win an argument that that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
Because lots of special types of businesses have to, like a sidewalk cafe has to get the same kind of, you know, it's not, you're not being targeted, oh, you're marijuana. It's still kind of reasonable. So again, if this is something we have issue with, let's deal with it once we get it passed, right? And then the last thing, which it doesn't bug me too much, but it's going to prohibit the vending machines. So if you're in the business of vending machines, get out of San Diego. Yes. Some of you guys might have like specific questions about the neighborhood use permit process, and I can walk you through that. I've started to do a lot of research on it. It's complicated, and I'd rather get to the Q&A. But if you have specific questions or you want to know like what you have to apply, it's a lot of paperwork. You're going to need someone to walk you through it. It's a lot of stuff. But we'll figure it out together.
Wasn't there 2% added on the?
Yeah, the 2% excise tax, and how that's going to work exactly. Again, we're working out the kinks in that. If you're following the news closely, there are some comments about that. Let it slide. We'll figure it out. It's not that much. And again, that was also put in there to get a couple of those yeses. It's a long road to 5 yeses, and we need them. So again, remember, the political powers that be, they know what they're doing, and they did it for a specific reason to put those things in there to get the yeses.
Let's just keep in mind really quickly that while we can agree or disagree with whether the tax should be there, we can all agree that a lot of money would be generated from that tax that the city of San Diego definitely needs. And we can agree that if San Diego all of a sudden had money coming in from this source, that would be huge leverage for this community. And while maybe we don't want that tax at all, fine. Guess what the community has now? A financial interest in the city. And the city now all of a sudden is relying on this money to fund whatever program because now they know that money is going to be there all the time. So we may not like the idea of a tax, but it's huge in the long run. And I think it really is to the benefit of the community in the long run.
All right, I'll do a Q&A for 5 to 10, and then I'll step outside. Eugene says 5. I'm going to say 10. But I'm sticking around. Go ahead. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I do have a question about the inventory software. Do you have any recommendations on which?
We do. We're working on it in terms of who's got the best stuff. So we're vetting right now.
MJ Freeway.
That's a fine one. Yeah, MJ Freeway's one.
Another.
I'm looking at a couple, but I don't like to give recommendations out until I know it's good. Otherwise, you're going to be pissed when it's bad and you're yelling at me. So let us keep sort of vetting who's got it, who doesn't. But MMJ Freeway is a good, reliable one. Go ahead.
So what's the current temperature in terms of like people, like the police budget? I mean, how much are they really coming at? You mentioned, don't sell on Craigslist. How much energy and work hours is the police department?
The SDPD likes to bust
A lot.
marijuana.
I don't have the numbers for you,
Yeah.
but while we could sit here and say, why are they wasting their time with this, which is what juries sit there and say, doesn't mean that they're going to stop wasting their time with this.
Oh,
They
yeah,
waste
yeah.
a lot of time with
So
this.
they do.
Yeah. That's why, Melissa can wear this nice dress and truly, it shouldn't be, right, legality versus reality, but it is. But we do know that Craigslist is like a feeding frenzy for undercover cops. Just stay away from Craigslist. It's
Okay.
not your friend. Go ahead.
Do you guys have specific recommendations for packaging, like tamper evident or heat sealable, so that are there laws?
There aren't. So,
about that stuff?
odor reducing would be my best recommendation. And
you guys,
labeling.
do you recommend, like, hey, if you're transporting it, make sure it's sealed, it can't be tampered with, so when you give it.
Basically, you want it to look as professional as possible. I love when it's in like the actual medicine bottles with a label that says, compliance under 215 and 420 and things like that. Anything you can do to separate yourself from the drug dealer that's handing you the baggie, do it. Its perception is, is everything in this world.
I was accused of DUI because I had one of those little bottles, so I changed bags that it was sealed because they were like, how do I know you haven't been accessing it?
Right.
So
So if it
let's
were-
do a test right now.
It's totality of the circumstances. There's never going to be, not never, but there's usually not one fact that changes everything. It's really the whole big picture that you have to look at. So anything, like Kim was saying, anything that you can do that helps you out, does exactly that, it helps you out. It's one thing that goes in your favor. That's a great thing though, and if they're out there, use them. I love it.
Are there gonna be any parameters on the number of, business permits that are actually given out specifically
Oh,
for medical marijuana?
you know what, I actually skipped like a really huge thing, the
Okay.
change in actual zones. So in the old ordinance, super restrictive, it said like a couple commercial zones and a couple industrial zones, and those industrial zones weren't developed, so, you know, if you were gonna have your store there, you need to pave the road as well and do all that. It opened it up to all community commercial zones, which helps, right? I mean, it does help a lot. But just by virtue of the distance requirements, the 600 feet from the schools and the childcare, facilities, and then the zones, and you have to be 600 feet from other dispensaries, it will be limited in terms of that, and it will be limited in terms of getting a landlord to give you a thumbs up. But by law, no, there isn't like anywhere in this ordinance that said, even if there's 100 zones, we're only issuing 20. So it's kind of,
It'd be like City of LA.
yeah, and it's kind of like be ready, if you know you're gonna do this and you be ready with the rest of your paperwork. So articles of incorporation are gonna be part of what you have to submit, that seller's permit, part of what you're gonna have to submit. So know that there's only so many spots, just again, by virtue of land. Be ready to go. If you know you're gonna do this, like, be ready. Couple more questions and then I'm getting the wrap up. I never listen to those people back there. Anyway. Go ahead.
Well, business licenses.
So that's basically what this neighborhood use permit will be. That will be your business license. Adele.
Real quick, just to reiterate what we were saying, in addition to the revenue, we'll also be generating additional revenue to the city of San Diego from the MMIC card. Because money from that also goes to it once, after the $82, the rest goes to it. And the labeling is also covered by the PSNS ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Adela, as always, for her strict attention to the municipal code.
True. That municipal code
It's
is
encyclopedia.
Go ahead. Oh, you had your hand up all along. I'm so sorry.
Actually, no, the seller's permit, is that the same as a business license?
Nope.
No, good question.
Okay, so your business license is gonna be this neighborhood use permitting process, and you're gonna have to submit a general application, a business plan, pictures that are gonna have to show this radius, that radius, if there's slope in the land. They're gonna have to be, if you're in a historical area, you're gonna have to add this, you're gonna have to have site development plans. It's a bitch, right?
That's
You're not
the
gonna be
business
able to,
license?
that's gonna be like your business
Got
license. The seller's permit is what you need to be able to distribute and sell or accept donations, however you wanna say it, and what puts you basically on record with the Board of Equalization to pay your quarterly sales tax. So you need both. But the fun news is the seller's permit's free to get. I just need to help you fill out the application.
When is your seminar?
Nicole's next Saturday, noon to 4. Sunday to 3 hours.
Here?
I'll keep you there.
You gotta, start to that.
Bring granola bars.
Is it on this card?
Yeah, okay. And that's when I'll go into like real detail. We'll talk about everything about the neighborhood use permit. You'll get a little tired, a little sleepy. It's boring stuff. I mean, it really is. It's complicated and boring. Adela's a nerd. She likes it. But it's a process, and it's more than just handing in a piece of paper, and it's going to take time. And we're gonna have to get some other people in to help us make sure that we're pulling the right records from the county and things of that nature. It's just a lot of work. Go ahead.
So, is it true that you can, create a nonprofit that is not centered on medical marijuana? Say, I have a nonprofit for people that wear baseball caps, but everything all the money that I raise goes to fund medical marijuana.
You can create a nonprofit for anything you want as long as it's not an illegal purpose. But again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying with Melissa, like, you're not smarter than anyone else out there. So if you think you're gonna put something on a piece of paper, but really do something else and really move the money in one way or the other way, it's not worth it, because the defense is not that you weren't doing it. The defense is what? Yes, I was doing it. Hell yes, I was doing it, but I'm doing it in compliance with the law. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but you could have any type of
And once you start hiding what you're doing, that's a different charge, that's fraud, and that's worse.
Yeah. There was a question earlier, like, should we put on this license, like, that we were doing something else, or that we should lie about something, I don't know. You don't want to get in there in front of a judge and have an application that says you were, selling tomatoes. Like, they don't like liars, and juries don't like liars either. Be honest, it's okay. Someone else has to say Kirk.
Yes.
Oh, because I can't.
Actually, it's two-part question. If you have a business license already, do you have to get another business license for the new?
Well, you don't.
You don't have a business.
There is no business license for medical marijuana business right now.
So it's, okay, and then do you have to have a business license to get your seller's permit?
No.
Yes, you do. You have to be incorporated with the Secretary of State because part of the application asks for your corporate ID number.
But that's not.
But that's
But that's not a business license. And there's also no such thing as a grower's license, just so we're all clear. There's no such thing as a grower's license. And
There's no time for that, or should be.
maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get to the grower's license. One more question, and then Melissa and I will step outside and bombard us with questions. I love questions.
I just had a quick one, real quick. Back to the federal law that you guys talk about. What was that thing that you said again that you filed that basically says that all the state stuff doesn't mean nothing?
Oh, yeah, it's called a motion in limine, and they're motions that are filed before a trial.
How do you spell it?
Limine.
Another eye in there.
Yeah, it's limine. It's a fun word. Basically what they do is they file these motions, and that says if you go to trial and you're in federal court and you're in front of a jury, the normal spiel is, hey, I was doing okay. In federal court, you can't say the words dispensary, medical marijuana, donation, patient. You actually can't use those words. Your lawyer would fight about that, of course, but it's something you should be aware of. It's a fight that actually gets had. Yes. And I think, thank you, Eugene.
Big round of applause for Kimberly Simms. Before we take a break, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of brief topics I wanted to add. Maybe this question was asked earlier, but if it was, I want to ask it again. How many people here have their county cards? Raise your hand if you do. So less than a third. Get your county card. It is not just an ability to be compliant with this new ordinance that comes out. It is and I'm not a lawyer, but the lawyers will tell you, it's the only thing that comes close to immunity. It's the only thing that gives you limited immunity from arrest. It shifts the burden on them instead of you. And in addition to that, if you have no indicia of sales, no baggies, scales, anything like that, you're carrying your own medicine, half a pound or whatever is reasonable for your condition, they will walk away with that county card versus with the rec, arrest you, charge you, have you bail out, then come back to court and prove that you're a patient, and maybe get your medicine back a year later, like happened to me without a county card. But I've been in a situation where I was stopped at a DUI checkpoint with a county card and my medicine in the car. Because they smelled it, they searched the whole car, even though I didn't consent, but I walked away from that encounter with my medicine and my county card along with it, so it's really, really critical. Another point that I wanted to add to was how much resources do the cops spend? Well, hopefully, now that the mayor's in charge, maybe the San Diego PD will spend a little less resources because he is in charge after all. But I assure you, the NTF, the Narcotic Task Force, which is comprised of the sheriff, all the other police departments in our county, this is priority. If you don't think this is priority, you're confused. It is absolutely priority for them. They are wasting money on this every day. There are people like we are studying. Once in a while we meet and organize. They have a team of folks working every single day, investigating and planning on how to shut people down. That's why it's so important for us to be out there to support the mayor in his proposal to get an ordinance through that where we can give that political cover that the elected officials need to have our back completely. There's a reason Harborside and other places aren't really getting raided by the feds like we are seeing it down here. Now, they're not to say they're not going after them. They are in other ways, but we're not seeing these snatch and grab raids in places where they're licensed. We are seeing them here. And so, so thank you very much. Sorry to scare you all with all that information, but it really is important stuff. And we're going to take about a 20-minute break or so. Both speakers for the next part of the seminar are already here. We have food and drinks and coffee in the back. Please help yourselves. And there's a resource table with a whole lot more material that's been added. So we'll see you here in a half an hour. Thank you so much.